Yeah, but well, here we are, Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. Mike Tyson, now like 58 years old of him, taking on Jake Paul. I think is 27 at heavyweight. I will say Paul looks really fucking fat at heavyweight. He does not look healthy. He looks pretty fit when he's at cruiserweight. He looks like a real athlete. At heavyweight, not so much. He kind of looks like the guy who works on the oil rigs and has had a few too many nights drinking beer with his friends afterwards. But there still is the interest. Can the old man, in all of his glory, the guy who probably still has one hell of a punch with both hands better than Jake Paul's right hand, is he still deadly for the first few rounds? Guys, we're talking 8 2-minute rounds, 14-ounce gloves. It's a sanctioned fight. I feel like if it goes into the fourth round, Jake Paul's going to win, and he's probably going to stop the old man down the stretch. But if there's an early stoppage in this one, I think Mike Tyson might just get to Jake Paul with a left hand over the top or something like that, a big hook. I don't know who do we go to on this one first. Let's go to Danny. Why don't you kick us off on the circus sideshow that is Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson?
Yeah, I think your analysis potentially maybe not that far wrong, Matty, but I have a feeling this isn't even going to really be a real fight. Like, I'm sort of expecting a similar showing as we got when Tyson had that exhibition with Roy Jones Jr. And I know this is being, going on the records as a professional fight, but I cannot see, like, what it is for me is Netflix, or obviously it's been streamed on Netflix. They've bankrolled this. They're obviously a massive corporation, very concerned about their image, their reputation. Are they really going to want attached to them Jake Paul sending a 58-year-old Mike Tyson to the hospital if he knocks him out cold? Like, there will be serious backlash if that happens, I think, which is why there's been rumors of in these Jake Paul fights, there's like contractual agreements that Jake can't be knocked out and this can't happen and that can't happen. I know Tyrone Woodley sort of half alluded to it before, and people were suspicious over their first fight, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of skullduggery like that in place here. I'm really not expecting much of a show at all.
I don't know if it's better for you to be correct or for you to be incorrect and leave the possibility of 58-year-old Mike Tyson being like straight knocked out by this young guy who has a pretty damn decent right hand at the end of the day, if he has anything. Des, what are your thoughts on the shit show that I'm going to be seeing live up close and in person?
I'm I'm the wrong person to ask about this sort of stuff because I don't know much about it. Of course, I know I can give you a chapter and verse on Mike Tyson's career, but I don't know anything about the other fella. So, and it's a genuine question: is this the same kid that had a life and death with Tommy Fury?
Yeah.
That's him, yeah. Oh.
Right. So, how does that kid beat Mike Tyson? Now I know it's an old Mike Tyson. I know it's a dated Mike Tyson. I know he lived a life, but the kid I saw against Tommy Fury, he was awful. It was an awful fight. So there's got to be a fiddle here. There's got to be there's got to be a move. You can't allow Mike Tyson to be let loose on this kid and clip him and iron him out. And nor can you let this kid beat Mike Tyson. No, Matty, I'm going to go with Mike Tyson, of course I am, but I know nothing about this type of thing. I'm really out of my comfort zone talking about it.
Man, and what's crazy is that Ames. I mean, we're talking like 20 years after Danny Williams stopped Mike Tyson. I think it's insane to be discussing
was the
this.
last one. Kevin McBride. It got worse from Danny Williams. Kevin McBride stopped him after that. Fuck's sake.
But it's crazy to be thinking this. I don't know. Are you with Des thinking that there's so much smoke show about Jake Paul that he's there for the taking if this is a real fight against a near 60-year-old Mike Tyson?
It's genuinely hard to kind of fathom what this actually is without it really. You just want to be there on the night like you're gonna be, and just seeing what this is unfold, because I would think that this is a choreographed event where, right, let's get these two big names in. We need to get this Netflix live stuff off and shot with a bang. We need something big because we're Netflix and we're getting into the live event world. We got told earlier that they've done a bit of F1 live. They've done some golf live. I'm not really fussed about either F1 or golf. Couldn't give a monkeys about them. I'm not watching them on a Friday night. By any means,
sports with a pace that's somewhere in the middle of golf and F1.
They're terrible, boring sports. Put them in with cricket as well. Can't stand it. But they need something big. So they've dragged in Jake Paul, who Jake sort of curried a lot of favor with boxing fans because this whole misfit social media scene wasn't very well liked. And Jake was one of the originators of this scene alongside Joe Weller and KSI and a few others. But what Jake had done is he sort of separated himself from that pack and decided to go, look, I don't want to be like those guys. I want to be a professional fighter. Look, my ambitions are lofty and they're deluded and they're crazy. And I'm going to be a world champion and I'm an elite level fighter. And you guys don't see me like that right now, but I will be, and I'll prove it to you. Fine, you got those dreams and aspirations. No, can't be derogatory towards you to
and he
have
has
those
the
things.
means to invest full time in it too. That's
Sure.
the one thing you have to give him. Like, he's not working a regular 9 to 5 and having to be a boxer. He does his social media shit when he wants to, pulls in buku bucks, and he gets to train hard with the best opportunity, best equipment that's available to him.
Absolutely. And people in the boxing world want to be
some of the money team in his fucking corner as well. Doesn't he have? Who's his trainer? Is Ishe Smith? There's one of these characters his trainer.
I'm not sure who he is actually training. I know he's flirted with a few. Was he not with? He was with BJ Flores. He was with Bob Santos for a bit after he moved on.
I feel like Ishe Smith wasn't Ishe Smith in the corner mouthing at Tyrone Woodley in one of the. I feel like he was one of the money team fighters anyway. I could be mixing up my money team fighters. It wasn't like they had any real fucking breakout stars apart from Javante. Anyway, I digress. Sorry, Ames.
No problem. Yes, so Jake's tried to separate himself from the pack and off of the back of knockout Askren and Tyrone Woodley and whatever, he started trying to fight legitimate boxers, and there were former Golden Gloves champions, but they weren't of any real competition. There was rumors of things and of clauses put in contracts that you can't do this, you can't hurt him here, etc. All this kind of things never substantiated, but these were always around, these fights. But they clearly weren't pulling in the big views, the big bucks, because the Jake Paul train had really kind of slowed down. I think Danny can attest to this too when it comes to our numbers in the boxing reporting world. Jake Paul, starting off with anything you put out on Jake Paul would just get mad numbers, and it just really kind of slowed down. I think they realized, look, this professional thing, if it's going to work, we have to maybe deviate back to what we were doing in the first place to get back some traction, and that's what they've done with going back to the gimmick route and bringing in Mike Tyson. Like I mentioned there, in terms of this being, I can only really fathom this as being something choreographed where they can both look good, and maybe Mike knocks him down in the second round. Whoa, Mike looks great, and he's still got that tiger in him. And Jake's come back now. He's rallied and he's boxed to a points victory, and wow, they both look great. The younger man got the victory, but and whatever. They can all be done with it and make their money. And
kind of like it kind of feels like a real life implementation of Rocky against Mason Dixon.
Something along those lines, basically. But then that's been shot down as well because Jake Paul's manager Nikita Bidarian has said, I've heard all these rumors about what's going to happen in this fight. It's not true. This is a legit fight with the rules that you set out earlier, Matty. And it's also the idea of Netflix is a massive corporation. You don't want to, with one of your first few events, you don't want to con your fans. You don't want to leave the people tuning in have thought, wait a minute, I've wasted my time here. I've been made a bit of a fool of here. Sure, I've probably been highly entertained with Mario Barros is a blood, guts, thunder, and piss fighter. I love watching Mario Barros. And Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano, another great fight. That Buddy is the fella that knocked out Ashton Silva in brutal fashion. He's got an opportunity. And that's I want to highlight this. That's the good that Jake Paul's done in the sport. He's really rocketed Amanda Serrano. He's given this Lucas Buddy an opportunity off of the back of that crazy knockout against Aston Silva. These are all the good things that Jake has done. And I truly believe like Jake has taken a lot out of the sport. This is a guy who I believe was living the LA lifestyle and was probably close to death or something, or prison, and used boxing to really kind of focus himself. I completely do believe that. But this big event, like, I think they've really got to. This could make or break it, because Netflix coming into the scene, if this does huge numbers, as I imagine it would do, like what boxing, what's the next thing? What's the next iteration? Because they're going to go for the next gimmick fight, maybe pad it out with good fights underneath, sure. But Netflix getting into boxing,
Ames,
like
you're
Amazon.
a fellow wrestling fan. And they
I
also,
am, yeah.
Yep, and they now own the rights to WWE. You're going to see a WWE star in some sort of a fight on Netflix, some sort of a boxing match, I think.
There was a rumor that Bobby Lashley was going to do Misfits Boxing, so that might happen. Not an active WWE wrestler; he's in AEW now, isn't he? But that might happen. But yeah, like the idea of Netflix coming into boxing is huge, because Netflix, everyone's got Netflix. Everyone doesn't have DAZN. Everyone has Netflix. There are millions and millions of subscribers across the world who has Netflix. And if they get into boxing, that you mainstream boxing again in almost one fell swoop. So it could be like, if whoever's organized this thing, whoever's behind this, like if they understand boxing, if they get it right, and people really tune in for the boxing element of this, boxing could be in a real good position. But if it's orchestrated in some way, if people feel like they've been mugged off a little bit, then it's going to tune people off, and I do worry a little bit about that. And then you got the side as well too of the two people that are in the ring, and Mike Tyson hasn't been looking the most healthy. He's pulled out on one occasion from this fight because of his health. In that fight with Roy Jones Jr., I thought that Mike was sort of taking it somewhat seriously. Danny, we spoke earlier, and he said, yeah, maybe to the body he was taking it serious, to the head he wasn't so much. But it looked like to me like Tyson can't gimmick himself. Tyson, when he's in the ring, he's him. And it's the other side of it as well too, is I don't want, like, Tyson's gone through this real like human growth, and I believe that you can see how all the public kind of growth that he's gone, and everything that's gone on in his life, for bad and for good and for bad. He seems to have turned his life around. He seems to be he's not the Tyson of the past. I wouldn't want to see this be him slipping back into that sort of person again. So I do hope in that sort of sense Mike can separate his ego side, as he said beforehand, from himself right now, because that's important for his health. But on the other side as well too.
Yeah, you're kind of hoping he's not like the Mike Tyson of old, and he's like, shit, I've got all this money now. Let's do cocaine.
Well, that would be terrible. But yeah, like from your point of view, and this is maybe more where I'm well versed in this. If Jake Paul loses to Mike Tyson, like, this guy has been talked about, the real money fight for, and there's a lot of money here for sure, but the big money fight here is the fight against KSI. And if he loses to Mike Tyson, you open the door for KSI to come in, swoop in, and make mega bucks off of Mike Tyson and fight him, and whatever happens there. But you might that fight with KSI goes up in flames as well, I feel, to a large degree, and there's a lot of build back from that. I know hardcore boxing fans don't really care about that sort of scene, but that's just to give you an idea of what's quote unquote on the line here to a degree, I think. But I think this is the biggest event of the year. I think it's going to dwarf everything that's been offered, numbers wise, from what traditional boxing can offer. And I do hope there's more from Netflix in terms of live boxing and traditional boxing as well. But I'll be watching. I was quite surprised actually to hear that Rob was looking to just like kind of read the pages and see what happened with Jake and Mike. But I'm tuning in. I'll be absolutely on my seat.
It's just on regular Netflix, Rob. It's not going to cost you any more than your subscription if you have a Netflix subscription.
Fucking, you know what age I think I've got to fucking get up at that hour in the morning. Fuck off with you at the weekend.
It's Netflix. It'll just be available.
Yeah, but I'm not going to watch it live, is what I'm saying. If I watch it live on Texas time, that's fucking, what's that, fucking 5 a.m. here or something. Those days are gone, man. Do you know that way? Unless the last time I stayed up for a fight, I think was I could be wrong now. I could contradict myself here on the pod, but I think it might have been Crawford Spence was the last time I specifically stayed up that late like to watch a fight.
There is
Matty,
Has to be something
there
special to
is
get me at this time.
for me, like there is a thing like I would, if I was in America, I'd be buying a ticket as well too, because for me, who I wasn't a boxing fan when Mike was around. I've never seen him in the ring. I wasn't anywhere near that Roy Jones Jr. exhibition fight, whatever it was. Like, I would love to see any form of Mike Tyson in the ring in the flesh with my own eyes. Like, I'd want to be there.
To see him come to the ring one last time, they're going to do a big production. It's Netflix first foray into boxing, Cowboy Stadium. It's going to be a big thing.
I think, can't we just leave fucking things where they are, right? I grew up in the fucking 1980s. I was born in 1978. As I said last week on the pod, I remember a first cousin of my dad's, and if he's out there anywhere, I have lost contact with him over the years, and he'd be some way related to Ryder and all them as well. His name was Michael Owens. He was a first cousin of my dad. He must have a grandson around my age, around 45, Michael Owens as well, in around London, right? He used to come over to Wexford back in the day, and in '85, he was tipping us about this heavyweight kid in America called Mike Tyson. And I remember clearly my dad waking me up on the fucking Sunday morning, come on, we're going to go down and watch this fella. He's going to break Floyd Patterson's record. He's going to be the youngest heavyweight champion of all time. This is the first time I ever seen him. He fucking destroyed Trevor Berbick. He had him like a newborn baby in the ring, manhandled him. And I saw that, like, I remembered, like, that was me falling in love with, like, I'd seen McGuigan, I'd seen Hearns, I'd seen Duran, but that was like the heavyweight champion of the world. Is 20 years of age, and he's a fucking destroyer. And everything that came with him, like, I still have the scrapbooks of all his fucking fights collected up in my attic. No joke, like all the clippings of Tyson's whole reign from the first time. So it has Mike Tyson's career.
He was the
Mike
most
Tyson,
recognisable face in the whole world.
without a doubt. He holds a special place in my heart, and a special, like I said, but then ever since then, it's been a complete oversaturation of Tyson. And can we just let him? Can we fucking don't be like, you don't have to fucking, there's so much other fucking facets of boxing that you can get into without dragging Mike Tyson into it at this age. You're fucking 58 years of age. So I get it. I'm with the lads. I think the fix is in here. I'm sorry. Like, I don't care if it's Netflix or not. Like, I don't think there's anything that goes on here that can be believed. I don't think it's a genuine contest. I don't see how you can have a genuine contest with a 58-year-old man who's suffering with illness, who smokes weed and takes fucking mushrooms.
And toad venom.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the good stuff. So, I don't know. Like, I just think it's going to be a move about an exhibition. Everybody's going to get done with the okey doke, and maybe it puts boxing back on a bigger platform. But for me, piece of me's dying thinking about this, thinking about Tyson. It was bad enough seeing it, living through him getting knocked out by Buster Douglas, and then whatever followed afterwards. I just hope he goes a little bit off script. You've seen him on Joe Rogan in recent years when he said that he didn't want to go back to training because when he trains, it brings out the bad part of Mike Tyson and the mean part of Mike Tyson. So, maybe we have one more I'll F you till you love me moment, and he just bites Jake Paul or something, or fucking dislocates his arm, kind of Francois Botha style or something. But, like, it was hard enough to watch Mike Tyson.
He'll get a pardon. Everything will work out for him now. If he does something fucked up, he'll get a pardon now. He's fine.
But as a Tyson fan, like, it was hard enough to watch the back end of his career in real time as it was. Like, you had the Clifford Etienne moments, the Francois Botas, the fucking stopped by Danny Williams, the sitting in the fucking corner when Kevin McBride, who wouldn't have even made it as a sparring partner, couldn't have carried his jockstrap in his pride. And the Holyfield one was tough to take too, because you knew, like, his life was in turmoil, and he was suffering, and it was all coming out in the ring on the biggest stage. The Holyfield one was a very fucking tough one as well, the second one, like. But yeah, like, I don't know. You're not going to get any Rocky moment here. Tyson has showed in his pro career that when shit goes against him, that he looked for a way out. So, like, if he's getting battered by Jake Paul, what does this look like? Maybe he does go rogue. Like, maybe that's where that's worth seeing on Netflix. But hopefully he gets out safe, man. That's what I'd say about that. But Jake Paul is no great shakes. Like I said, like they said, when he actually saw him against Tommy Fury, like, would you back Tommy Fury to beat Mike Tyson? Probably not. Like. So
well, that's a great point. That's a great point, Rob. Right. So let's run this down the chain a little bit. If you said to Michael Sprott or Audley Harrison or Danny Williams or Julius Francis if you said to Derek Williams, we're going to give you a couple of £1 million and 12 weeks to get in shape, they'd all beat Jake Paul, wouldn't they?
100%.
All them guys, Scott Welch, all them guys would beat Jake Paul if you give them 12 weeks camp and a couple of £1 million. But Mike Tyson was far and away better than all them guys I've just mentioned. And it gets me thinking about how good top pro sports people are. I had a friend that played League 3 football. He had like 50 appearances at Leyton Orient, and he ended up in a charity game with John Jones. John Jones was 62, and he couldn't get near John Jones. He said he was tough, he was spiteful, he knew where he was all the time, he knew how to turn me. He just couldn't get near him. I knew someone that once played tennis with a 60-year-old ex-tennis pro. He couldn't get near him. I've heard stories about people driving a simulating car next to Nigel Mansell. Couldn't live with him. Like, elite sports people are elite for a reason. Now, I know Mike Tyson has lived a life. I know his age is a factor. But Jake Paul's not even a pro. Like, I know he's turned pro, but he's not a pro. He wouldn't win a divisional ABA title. So how are we ever gonna suggest that Jake Paul beats Mike Tyson? Mike Tyson would just be too good for him. So there's got to be a fix in here. This can't be organic.
Do you not worry though, Des, from that point of view, the way, and I know it's different levels of opposition, but the way Evander Holyfield just looked so awful when he was last in the ring?
I'll be honest with you, I never see it, James. And I'll tell you why I never see it, and that's a cop-out, and I heard about it. But he was against another competitive fighter, though, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
An MMA fighter, 15 years is younger, I think.
That's different. So, for example, a sportsman's a sportsman. Like, you know, whether you play rugby at professional level, you play football at professional level, you can put them two in the same hat. They're physical sporting people. They know all about it. So I never saw that one, Ames. I heard it was bad, but he was against a professional fighter. Jake Paul's not that. I mean, I know he's turned over. I know he's got a license, but Jake Paul's awful. And the reason I say he's awful is because we've all been around boxing. And if you put Jake Paul in a top amateur club in London, he don't get entered for the national championship. He's not good enough. So to suggest that he now beats Mike Tyson, and I know Mike Tyson's, is 60 years of age, but it's still Mike Tyson. And I spoke about the levels in sport and how elite sport carries you through your life. If you said to Scott Welch, and I've seen Scott Welch recently, you got 12 weeks to get in right good shape and there's a few £1 million, it'd take Jake Paul's head off. And that's Scott Welch you're talking about. It was a domestic heavyweight. And Michael Sprott would do the same. And
so just to cut across, Des, I think the difference between like Scott, get to see Scott a little bit, and then Scott looks still very fit and healthy, whereas Mike's pictured with a cane helping him to walk, and that's the difference here. This is a man who's got a lot of wear and tear on him, alongside the way he's lived as well too. He's not outside of these fights. I don't think he's been living in the gym all that much, and that's where I think the argument.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, and so that's a bad comparison because Scott's in good nick, and he looks after himself, and Mike's a little bit more fragile. I get it, but if you just done the balance,
I give you Ray Mercer. Get Ray Mercer fit now. He beat the shit out of Jake Paul.
He would take his head off.
Well, it's because he can't
Briggs.
knock out Ray Mercer.
It's a great comparison. Give Ray Mercer 12 weeks. Michael Bent. God help us. Can you imagine putting Herbie Hyde in the same ring as Jake Paul? Like any of these guys. But I know the point Ames is making, and it's a fair point. It's a good point. Mike Tyson's a little bit older.
It's a bit ominous when he's pulled out of the fight already once with seizure problems. Like we never got to the bottom of these seizures.
It's a fair point, Ames. I take your point, Ames. I've got a lot of faith in elite sports people though. Whether you've been sprinting, playing tennis, whether you're a Formula One racing car driver, whether you're a footballer, rugby player, GAA, if you're pro, if you're an elite level sportsman, you're elite for a reason. You're that 1%. I just can't imagine for 1 minute that if you put Jake Paul anywhere near Mike Tyson, Jake Paul beats him. But Ames does make a very, very concise point.
Just goes to show that
he's older and he's more fragile. You're right.
Just goes to show that the ticket price on the nostalgia will always be bought. Matt is going to be there in attendance. I'm going to see Alien Ant Farm this weekend. I woke up early to go get a ticket to see the Biscuit. Like, nostalgia's undefeated.
But
I've got to
just
see Nas on Wednesday night, so I know what you're saying.
but
Yeah, that's
something
fucking awesome.
I'd say there, Matty, right? Rob touched on it earlier, and I'm from the same era as Rob, born the same year. Nothing can compare to Mike Tyson. You had to live it to believe it. And there was no social media. Like, he was the scariest man in the world, the biggest character, the most recognizable face. He was a superstar beyond all comparison. And if you look back on our lives, people like me and Rob would say, well, there's 3 or 4 things that have just made a big impact, whether it's a Star Wars franchise, whether it was McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Mike Tyson you'd put into that. He was such a big name. It was mammoth.
It showed itself days, sorry to cut across you, in 99. It was 99 by the time he got to London. When he got out of jail, he'd had his comeback. He'd lost the Holyfield, and then he made another comeback trail. And this was on the comeback trail. I think he was with Frank Warren, wasn't it? There was Julius Francis in London. There was Lou Savares in Glasgow, and he was going to come for Lennox. And this was the rebuilding him back up for one last time. But we knew the wheels were off. But he stopped traffic in London like the motherfucking Beatles. Did you ever see the footage of him in London in '99?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. I remember
13 years past his fucking sell-by date. Like, he was stopping traffic in another country. It was incredible, man. Honestly, I said it before. People will never understand unless you live through it. It was insane. Like, he's up there like Madonna, Michael Jackson, Maradona, Mike Tyson. That was the 80s. Like, global impact.
So in 1999, that visit you're talking about, he ended up in Brixton. I think he was on the Brixton Road.
That's right.
And the gathering was so fierce. For his own safety and for public order, they had to take him into a public building and put him upstairs. And he put his head out the window and started inciting the crowd and talking to them. And it stopped traffic. Like you can't get your head. And this was in 1999. And the big buzz was in 1988, 89. It was 10 years before that. Like, it was the Beatles.
Did he rock down to Electric Avenue?
Yeah, not far.
They did, metaphorically, spiritually, and in a lot of other ways too.
Good knowledge, Matthew.
Spinal.
Good knowledge, Matthew. Good knowledge.
No, I only know that because of you. You mentioned something, then I ended up learning about the Brixton riots, and I'm like, oh, it's good to know other countries have done fucked up racist shit.
Yeah. Electric Avenue is a real road. It's a street off Brixton Road, and who was it? Is it Eddie Grant? Who was it that sang the song?
Yeah, but Eddie Grant.
Yeah. So that's where Mike Tyson was. And NWA have been there. Everybody's been down there. No one stopped traffic. Mike Tyson ended up in Brixton and he stopped traffic. The place come to a standstill.